Okay, it's now 5:30, so I'll call this meeting to order. Roll call.
Smith,
Yes.
Black,
Yes.
Stratton,
Yes.
Stillman, Hanson,
Yes.
Fisher, Eaton.
Well, it's people, as long as people can come in.
I didn't lock it.
Yeah.
It's your noisy gym.
So 4 of us count as a quorum, so we're good. Okay. Has everybody had a chance to look at the July minutes? Any additions or corrections to those? And I would entertain a motion to approve those.
Make a motion to approve the minutes. Second.
It's been moved and seconded to approve the July minutes. Roll call vote.
Glass,
Yes.
Hanson,
Yes.
Stratton,
Yes.
and Smith.
Yes. Financial statement for July.
Well, at the end of July, we had $342,999 in cash, $405,686 in CDs. For the first month of the year, we had collected $47,145 in revenues. $33,257 of that was from transfers. We have expended $37,261. We have encumbered $21,877. The revenues, one of the big items was a refund of $12,000. And of expenses, we had $15,963 in personnel expenses. Those personnel expenses do include salaries, health insurance, Social Security, pension, life insurance, unemployment insurance, things like that. We have encumbered $4,882 in workers' comp insurance. So for the remainder of this year, we have about $4,882 to pay for workers' comp. Had $1,465 in expenses that we had paid, $2,000 in materials and supplies, $2,050 in materials and supplies that had been encumbered. We had $4,900 in other charges and expenses, which would include travel and advertising and referee expenses. We have encumbered $14,945 in other services. The big one there is $11,000 for insurance for the year. Debt service, we paid $14,932.
What was the travel for, Justin?
Let's see. See if I can find that material.
You know, Courtney?
I'm looking at the detail that we did for that month. Greg, I'd have to look at that to see. I'm not seeing that on the detail that I've got here.
That's surely a mistake, then Courtney doesn't know what it is. I said,
It
surely
could
a mistake.
be. It could have been misclassified. There could have been a lot of different things on it. And we'll certainly find that out, and we'll email the group about what that question is.
It could have been, I mean, the next line item down is utilities. It could have very easily been
Just when we were transferring it over.
put in the utilities or
This
something.
is way out of whack.
Yeah, oh yeah.
Yeah.
Especially if you don't know what it is.
Yeah, we never gone anywhere. Well, I have, but
Next utilities are sort of nothing. Utilities.
We didn't fly to California to solicit a bid on
no. And there is actually, if you look at that payment report, there are things listed there in utilities. You've got the OSB, the OG&E.
That is exactly what it is.
Okay.
There's another AT&T.
It's been it was utility money that was, we transferred it over. It was put in the wrong line item, so we'll have that corrected by the next meeting.
Yeah, if you look on that page 6, right at the top, the OG&E by itself is $4,100.
Yeah, I added them up and that is what it is. So I didn't tell you.
That just needs to be moved.
Yeah, it just needs to be moved down to utilities.
Would you table these until they're correct, or?
It'll be reflected on the next, it'll be reflected correctly on the next one we get in a couple of weeks, so it's up to you. If you want to table them or.
these until they're correct.
Do it.
We had to table these until they're correct.
Okay. We'll move that.
I'll make a motion.
Okay. Do we have a second for that? Second. Okay, it's been moved and seconded. We'll table that until it's repaired. Roll call vote.
Glass.
Yes, I guess.
Well, to table
Yes,
the
tables, okay.
Stratton,
Yes.
Hanson,
Yes.
Smith,
Yes.
yes.
Courtney, you're up.
Don't have a lot to report, just talk about a little bit. Our soccer numbers came in 166 soccer kids and 51 football kids. That's pretty average for fall. Our spring season usually jumps tremendously. So many of those kids play tackle football and have other things going on. We will start soccer September 12th, start football September 10th. Working on, painting the fields and getting those ready. I did have some questions on some of the bids that we had sent out. I think these gentlemen might have some additional questions, I'm not sure, according to the baseball maintenance bid that was sent out. You guys, is there something that you guys would like to?
Yeah, I'll start. First of all, I'd like to say thank you to this committee for your time and effort, for serving on the rec board and for the kids of this community. It's very important. Your time is very valuable, and I'd like to take this time to say thank you for that. I did receive a bid packet for a bid that's coming up on taking care of the softball fields and the baseball fields, and I did have a couple of questions. I have visited with Courtney. She was very knowledgeable and helped me very, very much on it. There was a couple of questions I'd forgotten about, and so I'd like to just address this committee at this time concerning the mowing, and later you can discuss and let us know, who's responsible for making up the schedule on that. Is this something you guys are going to call us and say, hey, we need the softball fields done tomorrow, or baseball fields, or do you guys let us do that?
My understanding would be based off of whenever you guys feel that, it's needed.
Well, I understand the weather's going to play a part on that.
Right.
Your ball games and their schedules are also going to affect that.
Yeah.
So,
I mean, hopefully, that whoever does get the bid.
Yeah, whoever gets the bid will work with you on it.
Yeah, hey, it does need mowed.
exactly. Because another thing, just a suggestion that you guys might discuss, the initial getting these fields ready is going to take a tremendous amount of time, probably more time than the person that gets the bid even imagines, okay? And so I would make a recommendation, if you guys consider whoever you give the bid to, that it's not just a 1-year deal, but maybe it's a 3-year deal. Because they're going to spend an awful lot of time getting those things ready. Just have somebody else come in there the next year and beat them out on the bid or something like that. I just think it'd be fair to give it to a 3-year deal, unless you go with, and I think Joe's got some additional information on this. There's a company out of Oklahoma City that specializes on getting ball fields ready. I mean, they've got the equipment, they've got the knowledge. I mean, it's an expensive deal. Like I visited with Joe the other day when you guys talk about this top dressing. I'm not even that familiar with exactly the process of that top dressing. I doubt there's very many people that really are. And so, like I asked him, do you want to get it done cheap or do you want to get it done right? And Joe took it upon himself to visit with somebody he knows in Oklahoma City that specializes in this type of work. And so, at this time, if he wants to add something to that, Joe?
I called Don Eckroat. It's from Eckroat Seed in Oklahoma City. We've used him. Well, I used to use him a lot at the baseball field when I was coaching at Northwestern. And Don was able to, from his desk, and he's actually been here and seen this facility before, but he got on, I think it's called Google Earth, and he actually measured all the fields. You have somewhere between 9 and 10 acres from those 7 fields is what you have. In top dressing, what it encompasses is you actually start out by going in and aerating the fields, and then the way Don does it, everyone doesn't do it this way, but the way Don does it is he aerates them, and then he actually puts a mixture of compost and washed field sand is what he uses. And then, basically you put that out, and we're not talking about just a little bit of sand either. Gosh, he told me, and I don't remember the exact number, but it's like several hundred tons of sand for each one of those fields. And what you have on those fields, the larger field is about 100,000 square foot, and then it goes down to where the smallest one is like 30,000. The other 2 smaller ones are like 40,000, and then the softball fields are around 75,000. So again, like I said, it was about 10 acres. But to do it correctly, I mean, in my opinion, I'm not saying it's worth a whole lot, but in my opinion, someone needs to come in and do that initial work to start with before, you say, hey, we're going to let the guy that's getting the bid, get after it, because it is going to be a tremendous amount of work. And I know you have sprinkler systems on there. A couple of those fields have sprinkler systems. I understand that those have problems to start with, and that, to me, that's where you should start, is a sprinkler system, because after you get that finished, then you're going to have, gullies throughout the entire place. And I fought that the whole time I was over at Northwestern, with working on sprinkler systems. It's not fun. But to me, you should work on the sprinkler systems first and then move to the top dressing, laser grading. Dawn does all that stuff, and I just said, hey, Dawn, if you were to come in and top dress, you don't top dress every single year, which we know that you don't have top dress every year, but you're talking about to hire someone to come in and top dress, you're talking $8,000 to $10,000 a year, and that includes the sand and compost. For someone like Dawn to come in, and there's 7 fields out there, to get those things ready to go, for someone actually to start working on them, and I'm talking about top dressing, laser grading, which all those fields need to be laser graded. We pretty much know that. They're not in great shape. Not anybody's fault, but that's just the way it is. He threw out a number somewhere, it's going to cost somewhere around $50,000.
To do all.
To do all 7 fields, to come in, laser grade, top dress, basically get them ready to go for someone to work on. What that does not include, it does not include the area, the skin, the baked clay, whatever conditioner you call that stuff. That does not include the baked clay, but as far as getting the grass ready to go, you're looking at about $50,000, and that's not including baked clay. It's also not including any kind of sprinkler system. So, I mean, I think it's that whole job, Courtney, because you've done it for all these years. It encompasses a lot of work and a lot of time. And whenever William came in and said, hey, you know, they're wanting to bid that out, for one person to do it, that's going to be a tremendous amount of work. I mean, it's a full-time job, no doubt about that. So I just wanted to throw that little bit in.
Did Echo do the college softball field? That name sounds familiar.
Yes, he did.
That's what I was thinking.
But it's been several years.
He told me it's been 15 years ago.
It's been, yeah, I was gonna say, it's been several years. The last people that came in that, was Southern Athletic,
From Clinton?
no, from Arkansas, because it was Jason Anderson that brought
Oh,
it
okay,
up.
yeah.
Because that was the last time that those fields were topdressed, and that's when they came and they, pulled the lip out, you know, this level and all that.
And Don will do that too with all his fields. He'll pull the lips out. I mean, by aerating, he has 3 or 4 guys that he has hired that are baseball guys in the state of Oklahoma, and he goes all over the state. I mean, he's done fields from one corner to the other. He's very, very good.
Well, I think one thing, John, we do need to look at when we get some of those, if we get any bids turned back into is, you know, you can come in really cheap and do it really cheap and get what you paid for, or we can, you know, do it right the first time, which, you know, I think that's what we need to do. We've kind of done it cheap so many times that we kind of keep going back, and it's not saving us a lot of money. But I do appreciate you guys coming in. You know, if something else comes up, you have any additional questions, you know, let myself or Jim all know. And,
It makes a lot of sense to do it that way and get it.
Do you have any idea how much it would cost to do just the baseball fields like this first, you know, go around?
It would be a lot cheaper because you're talking about, 225,000 square foot on the softball fields, and on the baseball fields, you're talking about 180, 100 or 210. So it's not a whole lot, but it would be, maybe you're talking about probably $25,000. The thing about it is that guy has to bring all that equipment up here,
Sure.
you know, and we're not talking about just bringing, you know, I know the last time he came, he had a humongous tractor. He has what's called a Bomar leveler, and it's a big roller that shakes. You know, he's got, I don't know if we have access. The last time we actually had access to an aerator, I think maybe from the golf course. But if you didn't have to bring all that stuff, it's going to help. But you know, you're probably still talking about $25,000 somewhere in that neighborhood.
So then so if we decide to make that one-time expenditure, and then somebody like a William could come in, and it makes it easier for him to maintain and start, but then how long does that last? How often do you have to?
You shouldn't. I mean,
Is that it?
you shouldn't. Well, probably not it. To go back in and top dress, probably somewhere in the neighborhood of 3 to 5 years. One thing I did fail to mention, that cost included overseeding in perennial ryegrass, which is about $6,500. It was 80. I think he figured 87 bags at $75 a bag. So I think that was around $6,500, something like that. So that did include that, because you were mentioning something about perennial ryegrass. But Kinsey, back to that. Here's the thing: if it's taken care of, the problem that you have, and any baseball field has this, when you drag, you throw that dirt. Basically, as you're going, you throw that dirt. Well, what happens when you throw that dirt? You throw it and it gets on the grass. Well, then it just builds up after time. So you have a lip, which no one wants those lips out there. It's, you know, it's dangerous, not kind of, it is dangerous to the kids that are playing. So that's why you have to go back in. There are maintenance things that you can keep that from happening. I mean, if you take a guy that is working on that field and he's got a blower, and every time that field's drugged, you take a blower and you blow that back onto the dirt, which that can happen. The problem is that's time consuming and people don't do it every single day. But I don't know if you guys remember Damon Moore when he was here for the high school. I mean, they did those things every single day. Yeah. And I mean, and people made fun of him because he was so particular about that stuff, but it works. That's one thing that I was going to say too. When you're talking about, okay, we're going to hire someone to come in and mow and, you know, edge out the baselines. The one thing that I can see negative I can see with that is, if I was the guy that came in and mowed and edged out the baselines, and then someone else, for instance, they're not prisoners. What are those? Inmate. If an inmate came and was dragging the field, you know, obviously he's not going to really care about how much dirt he gets up on the grass, because he doesn't have to worry about getting that off and fixing it. Well, the guy that's mowing and doing the edging does. So, you know, it's kind of really know how to explain that. But if I was the guy that was doing the edging and mowing, I wouldn't be real happy with somebody else coming in and finishing things up and basically tearing it up for me, is what I'm saying.
I think we're moving beyond the scope of a director's report here, and we're moving beyond what is on the agenda, and this is a special meeting, so we need to kind of try to stick to that agenda.
I thought it was very helpful.
I mean, it could be, that's right, it could spur some more discussion, but I don't know that it's appropriate now.
So when's it appropriate to bring it up?
We will have, if we've got bid advertisements in, we will evaluate, if we get bids in, we will evaluate those bids, and then these discussions can be had, how you want to do it. We get into the specifics of it before we try to accept a bid. And if it comes in that we do not want to accept any of those bids, we can reject them all and revisit the issue then. But I think we're moving beyond our scope of the direction.
Courtney, you want to get formal bids on parts and entirety of that sort of thing to bring to the board?
With the bid package been sent out. I think it is.
When was it sent out?
When was it sent out? I think it's scheduled to be open, the bid opening is scheduled for
September 9th, I think.
the 9th.
Okay.
We got it about a month.
Okay.
Anything else?
You can't, as far as I'm concerned.
Okay. City manager's report?
I don't know this time.
Can I say something?
Yeah, go ahead.
The bid thing that was sent out, it would be best if you deleted that and started again, because that is so vague, it's unbelievable. But that's just my opinion, I guess. That's all I have to say. I won't say anymore.
Thank you.
Well, the bid needs to be,
It's got to run its
that's
course.
requested, it needs to be specific enough for us to make a determination.
But the bid was sent out, it was sent out vague, it was sent out vague intentionally because we did not have specifics on how it needed to be done. And we left it to the bidder to tell us what needed to be done and how to do it. And at that point, we can evaluate whether or not he's telling us what he's telling us is correct, or we feel is right and affordable and all the specifics. But we evaluate those bids it was vague intentionally to allow them to the flexibility to prepare it the way they felt it needed to be prepared.
Okay, you want to go on with your report, Jim?
I have nothing to report at this time.
Okay, then, discussion and action on the development of bid documents for the construction and installation of shade structures.
Okay, well, according to our purchasing ordinance, the shade structures that we would anticipate putting around the softball and baseball field box are expected to be over $25,000. We currently have $75,000 budgeted for this purchase, but that's over the $50,000 limit, so we have to go out for bid on it. It is anticipated that those fees will be over $50,000, and we need the board's approval to go out for bid. And
So what are they bidding? Do we have specifications?
we've got some ideas about they would be bidding shade structures around the house.
It's vague also, there's no measurements or anything?
There would be measurements, yeah, but whether or not they went with the surface mount or direct bury, no, I would expect that to be left up to the vendor to tell us in their opinion what would be best. Then we get to evaluate whether or not we feel that is actually the best.
So what are the sizes and if they're bidding?
Courtney, what are those sizes of those shade structures that you've sent over to me? I mean, they're 3 or 4 different sizes. The way they wrap around on that. There's 2 of one and 7 of another. The way they wrap around those, the seating out there that's currently there.
In that bid, is there netting involved with the shade structure, or that is a separate deal down
And right now we're asking if you would like for us to go out for bid for that product. At that time, we'll develop the specific, and if you would like for us to be as specific and tell them, this is what you do, we can do
I
that.
was just curious, if it was vague, like the baseball maintenance, or if
Yeah.
it had a-
Right now, I would, yeah, the more specific you get the bid, the less bidders you will have.
So if they're not specific, how did you compare bids?
You compare what they've given you, and you can ask questions of the bidder, and you bring them in. If you've got questions of it, you get the answers to it.
Just have to be sure the apple fits for the orange.
Yeah.
So do we need action on that
Yes.
to allow that to be put out to bid?
You need to vote to approve to proceed with the development of the bid specifications and the advertisement for bid for the shade structures.
Okay, hold on, I just have to circle back. So if we decide to take bids on this, and then we go make a shade structure expenditure, and then we take bids to take care of all that, although we're not sure right now which direction we're going, so we may have to spend $80,000 just to get them up to par. Does this mean that we have to follow through with the bids on the shade structures all within the same time frame?
No.
Because in my mind, priority right now is to get the fields up and the shade structures come next.
The shade structures were in the budget for this year.
Okay.
And we did budget in a certain amount on field maintenance, and we actually put it into, it wasn't in the capital outlay.
It's in
It
field
was just in
maintenance.
field maintenance.
So if we have to go make an additional whatever, I mean, if we have to call a guy to come in, it's gonna be a lot more than what we thought. We're still,
At any point in time, we can reject all the bids
Okay.
and start over. Once they've been, we've got the option to reject all bids at any time. If this is something you don't want to do, then we don't need to be wasting our time developing the bid specs and everything. If we want to finish the advertisement up and see what happens with the field maintenance, then we don't need to approve this at this time, and we'll put it to the side until we've got the other completed.
The only thing I have to say is it's not the discussion of shade structures in softball and baseball. It's only softball at this time. You split it in half. Do
So,
softball 1 year, that way then a lot of the projects are completed besides, field maintenance over at the softball fields, and then, work to the baseball side.
so is the money budget for field maintenance, is that the property maintenance, or is that something separate?
that's what, yeah, that's
It's
what
a
I'm having a hard
property.
time with. I'm not seeing.
And I don't have my budget for the rec center with me.
Yeah, it's in that property maintenance.
Okay.
It's about added.
Well, I see nothing wrong with taking bids, I don't know where we're going with it,
Right, but I mean,
but I make
yeah,
a motion to,
It's been moved. Do we have a second?
second.
It's been moved and seconded to allow that to go out for bids. Roll call vote.
Just for softball, just for the softball.
Just for softball.
Okay. Glass,
yes.
Ely,
Yes.
Smith,
Yes.
Stratton,
Yes.
Hanson.
Yes.
Okay, concessions. Please discussion on that. Vote on it.
I've supplied you with the, as I told you I'd do, I supplied you with the sample advertisement for concessions. If you feel like this would fit the bill for trying to get a concession operator in the rec center, the rec park, we'll put dates on it and we will move forward with bidding the service out.
Oh, so there was-
Oh, here it is.
Yeah, that's what's supposed to be
Put it
there.
back there.
Okay.
Joe, don't we have that bit split up to where it could be separated between just inside and just outside, or is it?
Right
No,
now,
it's for
the
everything.
bid, right now, the bid specification is the way we've got it written.
It's for everything, and
If you want to try to look at somewhere where we split things up, we can do that.
So they're bidding just a lump sum price to operate the,
To operate the concessions, yeah.
nothing based off sales or commissions, just
No.
a flat fee? Okay. And does this say from what the date is? I mean, calendar year 2017. You just need a motion for that also?
If you want to approve this, yes, we would need a motion on it. If you do not want to approve it, you have to give me your input, how you want to change, and I'll change it.
I mean, Courtney, if you're not doing it, then you don't want to do it, right? I mean, you don't want to do basketball. I mean, if you don't have to order food and deal with concessions whatsoever, you don't want to deal with concessions whatsoever, right?
Well, I mean, of course, that's easier, but I mean, we can do whatever we need to do.
No, I mean, that's just the page I'm on. I mean, if we're gonna get rid of it, then let's get rid
My
of it.
concern is that, you know, we're gonna get rid of it, and the person that we hand it to is not gonna show up for an event, and there we're gonna be, you know, I have pros and cons to it. Will it be nice to have somebody else do it? Yeah, it would. But then I get concerned, what if we have a game that's rescheduled, canceled one night, rescheduled to the next, and they can't make it, run the concession? I mean, there's pros and cons to it, so I mean, but yeah, I mean, if they were gonna do it, I think I'd just say, hey, do it all.
Does anybody want to move to put this out for bid?
no, I'll make a motion that we put this up, put the concession operations.
Been moved to put the concessions out for bid. Is there a second?
Second.
Been moved and seconded. Roll call vote.
Hanson,
Yes.
Stratton,
Yes.
Smith,
Yes.
Glass,
Yes.
Ely.
Is there? We need to make sure, like what you're worried about on bids we get, what kind of answers they give when asked questions like that. As far as what's gonna happen if this happens, so. Any new business? Since we already talked about all the new business. Remarks by board members? Motion to adjourn?
Second.
We're adjourned.